Loosen up your ties and roll up your sleeves. It's time for Fellowship with Matt and Andrew. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are not necessarily the views and opinions of the Grand Lodge of Wisconsin or any other Grand Lodge or any appended body.
It was a really good feast.
That was a fun time. I love me a St. John the Baptist feast.
Yeah, food was excellent. Adam really outdid himself with this year's meal.
I'm scared with all the dates that I ate that I'm going to be too regular.
Oh, yeah. You ate a bunch of dates. I did not. So
Maybe you should have.
Nah.
You'd be regular.
I'm pretty regular.
Yeah, that was a fun meal. The education was really good. Chris Ludke came down. He's currently he's chairman of the education committee. He's also the current master at Silent Shepherd, so he came to do an education on, I'd describe it as not only on St. John the Baptist and Evangelist with St. John's, but also with an art history flair to it, which makes sense with his profession.
Right, for sure. Yeah, it was a really good presentation, really good fellowship, really nice time, lots of good laughs. I really enjoy going up there and seeing those boys.
Yeah, I'll have to make another trip back up there. I like their lodge. It's such a cool building.
It is. It is a very nice building that they have, especially as they've been doing like a little bit of work to it to kind of bring it back to its former glory.
Oh, yeah. It's looking great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. I really enjoyed it. I'll probably be back next year. If my calendar permits, I definitely want to come back again. Join them out there for another meal.
For sure. We'll have to get up there for a stated. Maybe we can put a car full of boys together to come up here on a Monday night and visit them and then drive back home.
Yeah, a lodge raid.
Right. See if we can get some guys to take Tuesday off and we could just come up here in like the fall when the weather's nice enough and then go stay at the cabin afterwards or something.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's a very good idea.
Yeah.
I want to do that.
As long as everybody's comfortable with no running water, we're good to go.
Yeah. If everyone's comfortable with the fart chamber after all the pigs.
Right. Right. Yeah, especially if we came up for the St. John's thing.
Yeah.
Don't eat too many dates, boys. Close quarters for the night.
Or do.
Right.
Dealer's choice.
And now we're going to be driving home in the rain the whole time, it seems like.
Oh, yeah, it's downpouring.
At least we got a good rainbow with it.
Oh, yeah, we got a double rainbow, ladies and gentlemen. We got a double rainbow all the way across the sky. It's gorgeous.
So what do we want to regale our listeners with?
So we learned a lot about St. John, the Evangelist and Baptist, and one thing that was interesting that I've enjoyed in Chris's education was talking about how they were used in art to teach lessons on duality and the extremes, and that they were included in art starting around the medieval era through the Renaissance. They were still always included in in a heightened position and together to teach allegories, which I think helps us understand like the Masonic origins of the use of, we say we teach our things through hieroglyphs and symbols.
Yeah.
A similar kind of education structure, allowing these symbols in various artistic forms to explain deep philosophical truths.
Right.
Pretty cool.
Right. Well, and the whole duality and balance thing, just the fact that you can pick two people that were, such extremes from each other to help represent that. And then you look further into Masonic symbolism and you got, your checkerboard floor and your 24-inch gauge and everything that's talking about duality and balance and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, man, all this stuff was like picked so intentionally, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like it's like nothing was by accident.
Yep, and you can see where a lot of those symbols, you can find them in art, which is why I guess an art history background is helpful for a Mason to be able to see like that's what they're doing. They're depicting it in art. And you'll see like when you're looking at like old philosophical texts and stuff, like similar symbols appear in different places, meaning very much the same things. So like it's an effective way of capturing an idea that might be hard to put into words with a symbol that one can unpack, which I think is super effective.
Right, yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's just also fascinating, and I love when you can enjoy a good meal with a little bit of education about the meal, and then followed up with another great education that, it was already on our minds, right? Because we had talked about it on the drive up there as part of our episode, and so then we get up there and we get to hear even more about the Saint John again.
Hi, listeners. I'm Brother Samuel.
I'm Brother Gabriel.
And I'm Brother Ryan. And we're the hosts from the Third Degree Masonic Podcast. We hope you're enjoying Time for Fellowship as much as we are. If you're looking for further knowledge on Masonic topics, then check us out on the same platforms as Time for Fellowship. And remember, craftsmen,
Keep your working tools in order.
And always be on the level.
now, let's get back to Time for Fellowship.
Apologize for that. We had technical difficulties, so
Yeah,
whatever the middle of my thought was is now lost.
yeah, I tried to surprise baby bird Matt.
No.
And then the phone fell, and then the recorder on the phone fell underneath the seat, under his seat. And then he had to stick his hand down and try to grab it. Then I tried to get it. And then he had to toss it somehow with 2 fingers, and I had to climb over the back of the seat. And I had to try to get it underneath the chair. And then I crawled down there and got the recorder back, all on one car.
Let's just say it was an interesting few minutes. Interesting few minutes.
I don't remember what we were talking about either after all that
I don't
trauma.
either. We were in the middle of talking about something about the Saint John, but, this just kind of completely derailed us here.
Yeah, I shouldn't try to surprise baby bird. You always got to ask for consent.
Asking for consent is a good rule in general, Andrew.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And given the rain, I don't think you would actually want to try to baby bird me while I'm driving.
All good things come with risk.
No. We need to let that whole thing die. It's run its course.
All right, back to picking up dog poop. Revert to old jokes.
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, overall it was a good night. It was worth the drive. I really enjoyed myself. Woo! Got some
Holy
good
lightning.
lightning going on. The rainbow has now been replaced by darkness and lightning.
Isn't it bad that every time I see big lightning, I ooh and ah like a person watching fireworks? I'll go like, ooh! Ah!
No, there's nothing wrong with that. I like a good thunderstorm.
Oh, dude, I love watching storms. A couple of weeks ago when we had that really serious storm coming through with the big hail and tornado situation throughout the state, everyone was inside, kind of listening to the radio to make sure we were good, and I was in the garage with both sides of the doors open, just watching. And I had a radio out there that I could listen to, the updates on where tornadoes were dropping, and I thought it was all fun and games until I suddenly heard in the distance, a very loud gusty noise, and a wave of wind crashed through the garage, blowing all the hats off the wall, and brooms were falling down. And I was like, I'm gonna die! And so then I shut the garage, shut both sides, and went sprinting inside. And I was get in the basement, if this could knock a tree. And luckily it didn't. But yeah, I stayed out there until it got kind of serious, and then I ran.
Yo, when
I
it
love
gets
watching
serious is the best time to stay out there. That's not when you fail.
That was blowing stuff off the walls. I was still watching from the window. I just wanted one more layer of protection.
One more layer of protection.
No, when you felt this wind gust was so jarring, it was it felt like a wave just hit you, boom, and I was like, ah, God! I've been playing with fire. Yeah, I love watching a good storm. I have no idea how I'm going to edit this.
No, it's going to be an interesting edit for you. We have well over 2 hours of recorded material at this point. So it's going to be a couple of episodes for sure. And yeah. But, hey, what I find interesting about watching storms, just to bring this back to a slightly,
Back to storms, yeah.
Right. The power and the, intensity of them, and obviously, and the beauty is impressive, right? But, they give me, a sense of calm for some reason, and, I've always been one of those people that, can operate really well under stress 99% of the time, right? And I think that's what suited me well in a couple of jobs previously. But, sometimes I just wonder if it's just, one of those things, you like to watch the storm because you like to be the calm little center in all that chaos, rage that it feels like is coming out, and I don't know, I like to use that as an allegory of life sometimes,
Yeah. I mean, I don't view storms as necessarily wrathful. I mean, they can be. Each storm is its own character, though.
Right.
Some storms I view as like they're very healing, and it's like, you know, a lot of indigenous cultures or ancient cultures would view a storm as the union, using a good word for it instead of a sexy word, of the sky with the earth, because how lush the earth looks after a storm, and that lightning is, you know, stuff. And so, like, that's a pretty common symbolism that you'll see spread around the world. And so, like, each storm has its own character, whether it's a raging, wrathful storm or like a healing storm. And that's why oftentimes storms, I feel like, are associated with like a father figure. Like, it can be like scary, or else it can be like soothing. And I find I sleep so well during a storm.
Oh yeah, that's the best sleep I ever get is during a storm. What's
That
really
low
interesting
rumble.
is if you look behind us, you can see exactly where the line of the storm is, and it looks like it's just absolutely calm and peaceful and gorgeous on the other side of that way back then. You know?
Yeah, it's cool, and I mean, it's fun. Like the indigenous people of the Wisconsin areas would call it the grandfather or the Thunderbird as their allegory, and it had a similar creative spirit. And yeah, I love storms. I like watching them, but I think they're calming just because I find a like awe in the beauty of raw power. There's nothing you can do against a storm. You just can observe it and go, wow.
Right.
And then I can ooh and ah at lightning.
And hope it doesn't come for you, right? Yeah.
There's always those moments where I feel confident till the thunder happens right above your head, and it suddenly goes like crack, and you're like, I gotta hit the ground. Like, am I alive? Okay, we're good. It's like a jump scare.
I can tell you, in the low light situation right now with the rain and the lack of street lights, since we're still far enough out for any of those, which I typically like, it's making it for a very fun drive in the rain.
Low visibility. Podcasting with low visibility.
Right.
Is that illegal? I don't know.
Well, thankfully I can keep my eyes on the road because I don't have to look at you while we talk. So.
Wait, what? I thought you were looking at me.
I try to look at you as little as possible.
Okay. That's fair.
Especially with the whole baby bird thing going on right now. I feel like if I look at you and my mouth is open to speak, I don't know what's going to happen.
I think that's implied consent. You know, bringing it back to our topic, what's interesting with the storm, if we're talking about juxtaposition, is like John the Baptist was known for his zeal, and basically, if you wanted to really simplify the symbol, it's passion versus intellect, right?
Right.
He's passionate, he's fiery, like a stormy man, one might call him. And the evangelist was very introspective, thoughtful, poetic, all that stuff. And so, like, it's an interesting juxtaposition, which I like thinking about. So, like, what was that? Oh, man, there's that quote I sent you the other day. It's, like, about philosophy. It's, like, philosophy without action is, like, useless. Action without philosophy is, like, reckless or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember it exactly.
It was more eloquent than that. But that almost feels like the exact same allegory that we're looking at with the St. John's, that, like, you need to have action, or else you're just a guy in a chair who's just like, well, I know things, and you're like, okay, what do you do about it? Nothing. Right. You're like, okay, so useless. You serve no function, and if you just do action and you don't think it through, you can be unintentionally destructive or negative, and you might not serve your ends or do proper justice, right?
Right.
And so I find that as an interesting point of contemplation to remember. You have to cultivate both.
Yeah. Sorry, I got like a little bit of just into the road there for a minute.
He was in the void.
I kind of let myself. I was listening to what you were saying, but I wasn't really like taking it in. You know what I mean?
What else is new?
Yeah, well, whatever. You don't listen to me half the time either.
No, I listen. I just might not act like I do. My body. I don't have to listen mentally. My brain just absorbs it.
Sure.
Automatically.
Okay.
It just gets tucked right in there. It processes behind the scenes. I don't have to pay attention to shit.
I'm really scared for when all these orange cones come out on the road. It seems like they're gonna have a massive undertaking underway. It's been the state flower has been blooming for a couple miles now.
Is that what we call cones, the state flower?
Yeah. Construction barrels are the state flower.
Yeah, it's been a good summer season for the summer barrels.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I think considering the weather and the drive and everything, that's a good place to wrap this little segment. Good luck editing all of this together into at least our next 2 episodes.
I'm just gonna delete it.
just release it in its raw form.
Like, what are they talking about? And you're like, yeah, we don't know either. Welcome to the show.
Right. Welcome to the show. This one kind of went off the rails a lot more than some other ones, but we had a good time, and there was a lot of good conversation in there about various Masonic topics. So.
And not Masonic topics. You know how we do.
Masonic topics, yeah.
But cool.
We followed our rabbit holes, so
yeah,
make sure you're following us on all of our socials. Please rate and subscribe to the podcast if you listen on whatever platform you listen on. And if you want to get a hold of us, always feel free to email us at timeforfellowship@gmail.com.
Oh, and check us out on Discord. Links in the notes. You can chat with us. It's a great time.
All right, for sure, Discord. I always forget about that, probably because
you never join us. Yeah.
Right, yeah. All right. You
Cool.
guys have a good one.
Take care.